Remember this feeling? The epic music, the unforgettable story, the movie that basically defined the 90s for a lot of us. We all thought we had the Lion King figured out, the wise Mufasa, the brave Simba, and that simple comforting idea of the circle of life. It felt like the perfect story. But what if it wasn't? What if the Pride Lands you remember are hiding some seriously dark secrets, twisted family ties, and uncomfortable truths that Disney definitely didn't put in the brochure? What if the fable you love is actually about plagiarism, fascism, and even cannibalism? Today we're counting down 10 Lion King theories that will completely wreck your childhood. Get ready, because the Pride Lands are about to get a whole lot darker. The elephant graveyard is a myth. Let's start with the ground rules, or in this case, the ground itself. The elephant graveyard is one of the most iconic and terrifying places in Disney history. Mufasa warned Simba that it's a land of death, crawling with hyenas and littered with giant skeletons. The name implies that old elephants instinctively go to this one spot to die. The only problem? It's not real. The whole idea of a mystical elephant's graveyard is a complete myth, a romantic folktale with zero basis in science. Elephants don't just wander off to a designated spot to pass away. Sure, you might find a bunch of bones in one area because of a drought or predators, but the idea of some self-chosen sacred final resting place is pure fiction. The film takes this old myth and turns it into a real, forbidden zone, which makes you wonder, what other truths in this movie are just convenient lies? Zazu, royal advisor or secret spy? Zazu, Mufasa's loyal, stuffy hornbill advisor, who is always going on about the rules. He seems to have the king's back, right? Well, a chilling fan theory suggests Zazu wasn't just incompetent, he was a double agent secretly working for Scar. Think about it. Where is Zazu right before the stampede? Scar sends him to get help, and he's gone for way too long, conveniently removing the one character who could have flown back and warned Mufasa. He's suspiciously absent during Scar's scheming, but always seems to mess up at the worst possible moments for Mufasa. Was it just bad luck, or was it sabotage? The theory goes that Zazu, maybe bitter about his role, or promised a promotion under Scar, was the ultimate traitor hiding in plain sight. It turns every bumbling mistake into a calculated act of betrayal. The Hakuna Matata heist. This next one isn't a theory about the plot, but a real-life controversy that makes the movie's most carefree song feel, well, a lot less carefree. Hakuna Matata, the problem-free philosophy, is presented like some quirky catchphrase Timon and Pumbaa came up with. In reality, it's a common Swahili phrase that has been used by millions of people in East Africa for centuries. Here's the issue. In 1994, Disney filed to trademark the phrase, which gave them the exclusive rights to use Hakuna Matata on their merchandise. The move was slammed internationally as cultural appropriation, with critics arguing that a corporation shouldn't be able to own a piece of a living language. An online petition demanding Disney drop the trademark got hundreds of thousands of signatures. All of a sudden, the song about having no worries is tied to a very real worry about corporate greed. The hyenas as harmful stereotypes. Let's talk about the hyenas. They're classic villains for sure, but for decades, critics have pointed out something deeply uncomfortable about how they're portrayed. The theory here is that the hyenas aren't just bad guys, they're harmful caricatures based on racial and class stereotypes. Just look at the evidence. The lions, who are the ruling class, speak with prestige British accents or standard American English. The hyenas, voiced by actors like Whoopi Goldberg and Cheech Marin, use slang and speech patterns often associated with marginalized Black and Latino communities. They live in a desolate slum, are constantly obsessed with food, and are shown as lazy and stupid until they rise up as a violent mob. One Harvard psychologist even described their behavior as Sambo-ish. This interpretation argues that the film, whether it meant to or not, reinforces a social hierarchy where the noble rulers are coded as white and the undesirable lower class is coded as people of color. The circle of life is fascist propaganda. This theory goes right for the heart of the movie's entire philosophy. We're told the circle of life is a beautiful natural system where everyone and everything has its place. But a much darker reading argues it's just slick propaganda for a fascist regime. According to this theory, the circle of life is just a pretty name for a food chain, where the lions are permanently on top. Mufasa's big speech to Simba isn't about balance, it's indoctrination. The lions have absolute power, and any group that challenges them like the hyenas, who are forced to starve in the shadows, is cast out as an enemy of the natural order. From this viewpoint, the circle of life isn't a philosophy. It's a political tool to keep the powerful in power and convince the weak to accept their place. Okay, we're at the halfway mark. If your childhood is already starting to feel like a distant, happier memory, do me a favor and hit that like button. And if you're brave enough to find out just how twisted this gets, make sure you subscribe, because the theories only get crazier from here. Simba's Oedipus complex. Alright, let's break out the psychology textbooks for this one. This popular theory suggests Simba's story is a classic retelling of the Oedipus myth, where the hero unknowingly kills his father and marries his mother. The Freudian idea of the Oedipus complex is about a son's unconscious desire to replace his father and possess his mother. Now look at Simba's journey through that lens. The movie is all about a son's crushing guilt over his father's death, a death he's tricked into thinking he caused. He runs away and only comes back when he's old enough to literally fight his uncle, take his father's place as king, and pair up with Nala to rule the Pride. The theory suggests Mufasa's death wasn't just a tragedy for Simba, it was the subconscious fulfillment of a dark childhood wish to get his powerful father out of the picture. His guilt isn't just about an accident, it's a deep psychological torment from the horrifying belief that on some level, he got what he secretly wanted. The Kimba, the White Lion controversy. This is probably the most famous shadow hanging over The Lion King. The accusation that it's not an original story at all, but was heavily lifted from a 1960s Japanese anime called Kimba the White Lion. The similarities are honestly staggering. The hero is a young lion cub whose father is killed, and he's destined to rule. The villain is an evil lion with a scarred eye and hyena sidekicks. There's a wise baboon mentor, a talkative bird advisor, and themes about the circle of life. Entire scenes, from the hero seeing his father's face in the clouds to specific character poses, look almost identical. Disney has always denied that anyone on the film had ever heard of Kimba, but the visual evidence has fueled this controversy for decades, leaving many to believe that one of Disney's greatest successes was built on a story it stole. Is Nala Scar's daughter? Brace yourself, because this theory makes the family tree incredibly disturbing. At the start of the movie, we only see two adult male lions, Mufasa and Scar. So, who is Nala's father? The film never says. If it was Mufasa, that would make her Simba's half-sister. But the more sinister possibility fans have pointed out is that her father is Scar. In a real pride, one or two dominant males father most of the cubs. If Mufasa was king, he definitely fathered Simba and maybe Nala. But if Scar was also in the mix, he's a potential candidate. This, of course, turns Simba and Nala's love story into a romance between cousins. The theory gets even creepier when you find out about a deleted scene where Scar decides he needs a queen to carry on his line, and he tries to force himself on Nala. The scene doesn't prove he's her father, but it shows he saw her as a potential mate, which makes the question of her parentage feel that much more chilling. Number 2. Scar, the cannibal. We all know Scar is a monster. He murdered his brother and destroyed the Pride Lands. But this theory argues he went one step further. After Mufasa died in the stampede, Scar went back and ate his own brother. In his cave, Scar is seen toying with a skull while holding Zazu captive. What kind of skull is it? While animators have said it was intended to be a baboon's skull, the symbolism is hard to miss. In a kill or be killed world, what's a more absolute show of dominance than consuming your defeated rival? It makes Scar's own death, being torn apart and eaten by his hyena followers, feel like perfect karmic justice. He lived by consuming his own kind, and in the end, he was consumed himself. The hyenas were always cannibals. And finally, the number 1 theory. The hyenas are banished to the elephant graveyard, a barren wasteland where there's nothing to eat. They're perpetually starving. So how did this huge clan of hyenas survive for years? This theory offers a horrifyingly simple answer. They were eating each other. The logic is brutal. With no prey available, the only food source was themselves. This completely reframes Scar's promise to them. When he says, "Stick with me, and you'll never go hungry again," he's not just offering them a meal. He's offering them an escape from a gruesome cycle of cannibalism. For years, this was just a grim fan theory. But then, in a 2023 comic series called Disney Villains, Scar, Disney itself seemed to lean into the idea. The comic introduced a hyena leader called the Queen of the Bone Eaters, and showed their society engaging in rituals of consuming the weak. While it's not from the original film, it suggests the idea of hyena cannibalism isn't just a fan creation. adding a terrifying layer of credibility to the desperation we see in the movie. So there you have it. The Pride Lands are a lot more messed up than you remember, a philosophy that looks a lot like fascism, a hero with a dark psychological burden, in a world built on accusations of plagiarism, and theories of incest and cannibalism. The movie you adored as a kid is filled with so many dark secrets, it's a wonder it ever got a G rating. But now I have to ask you, which of these theories do you think is the most believable? Are there any we missed that keep you up at night? Let me know down in the comments. I want to hear all of your dark Disney discoveries. Thanks for going down this dark path with me. If you enjoyed having your childhood ruined, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out our other videos on theories that will change how you see your favorite movies. Until next time, stay curious.